I'm dying.
For centuries, ambitious men and women have conquered the great feats of nature. Everest, K2, Kilimanjaro. These insane heights push the extreme limits of what mankind can achieve. But what about those men with less ambition?
So, this is it. I'm about to climb the smallest mountain in the whole of Britain. And it's actually a lot bigger than I thought.
In fact, my attempt to summit the UK's lowest peak had me questioning my sanity,
Britain's smallest mountain. Doesn't bloody feel like it.
my fitness,
Oh, my legs.
and the definition of the word small.
Oh, f***ing hell.
But the truth is, I've always liked the idea of saying that I've climbed a mountain, and luckily for me, the UK has thousands of potential peaks to choose from, but at this point, everyone and their dog has already conquered the biggest ones, quite literally. So I went in search of a less crowded and much easier option to climb, in a car that was built for this kind of adventure.
Well, here we go again.
Looking like I was on my way to a Love Island audition, my mini adventure took me northwards from my home in Manchester towards the most pocket-sized peak in the country. But it wasn't that easy to find. You see, most geologists classify a mountain as a landform that rises at least 300 metres above the surrounding land. But in the UK, we have hills, Hewitts, fells, Munros, Marilyns and Emmets, which all fit that description. So, for an official mountain, the Ordnance Survey marked the threshold as 610 metres above sea level, which is exactly 2,000 feet. And that narrowed things down pretty quickly, because it turns out that back in 2016, a brand new mountain was born. In fact, it only made the cut by a minuscule 6 millimeters. And this short king was only about 2.5 hours from where I live, in a very remote part of England.
Well, here we are. I have made it to the Barbendale Valley in the beautiful Yorkshire Dales National Park. But most importantly, that right there is Calf Top, aka Britain's smallest mountain. And really, I could just follow this wall right up that slope to get to the peak, but I'm going to take the more scenic route. I'm going to be walking right along this ridge here, that's the Middleton Fell, and then right near the end I'll be climbing back down this slope here. But I've got to be honest, it's a lot steeper than it looked online.
And nothing could have prepared me for what that hellish slide had in store, but more on that later.
Hell.
Because first I had to drive myself out of the dale and leave the handbag car behind, because the rest of my quest would be on foot.
I'm starting my route from the church here in Barben Village, where I'm also hoping to finish my trip with a nice cold pint in the local pub. But there's a 12-kilometre loop ahead of me first. Wish me luck, ladies. That's a shame.
I set myself 6 checkpoints along my route, the first of them being just under 2 kilometres from Barben, and it wasn't long before I came face to face with my first incline of the day.
Whew. So this is where the climb begins, and it's going to test my very average fitness.
Now, at this point, I should probably reveal something quite important about my preparation. Whilst I did have a good route planned, my stamina for it was a bit more questionable. I do quite a bit of running back at home, but I hadn't really trained for the inclines on this trip, something that would very quickly prove to be a huge problem.
I'm dying.
Especially because of how these types of videos are made.
What they don't show you in hiking videos is the fact that when you set up the camera and walk past it, you have to walk back and get it again. You're basically doing the whole hike twice. First proper obstacle. Have to do this twice as well. So this is definitely getting steeper again, but it's looking a lot more mountainous. I can see my first stop already. Oh, amazing. The Yorkshire Dales. That at the top there is the Devil's Crag. But look at that hill.
This incline was no joke, and embarrassingly, only minutes into my first climb of the day, the full weight of my tiny mission knocked me right back down to earth.
I'm going to admit, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. I have done some training, but not hills like this, and I've been going quite fast, so it's got to slow things down. I'm not in a rush. Oh man, smallest mountain my arse.
After a few minutes rest, I dusted myself off and gave the hill another crack.
Okay, come on. Devil's Crag. Oh, almost there. Yes. Oh my God. Oh. I'm dying. But this is special. Whoa. Oh my God.
Against the odds, I made it to my first checkpoint, but I wasn't in any mood to celebrate.
It's actually a bit depressing how little I've walked so far. I've got to be sensible here. I do feel a bit unprepared for this. Shut up, you. I'm just going to stop here for a little bit, rest, drink some water, and then decide if we're going to carry on. I want to carry on. I don't want to give up.
But in my tired state, I unknowingly made yet another tactical error, this time involving my water supply, which would only lead to even more problems in my very near future.
Okay, I do feel much better for that pit stop. But straight away now, it's another hill. Let's do it. I've chosen the steepest way. Idiot. Now the good news is, the next landmark is already in view. I'm pretty sure that's Castle Knot. That's good actually. It's good for the morale.
It may have been good for the morale, but it turns out that this wasn't actually Castle Knot at all. Not by a long shot. This was actually my second checkpoint called the Escombe Pike. But at this stage, I really didn't need to know that. I just needed to feel like I was making some progress.
Come on. Push. It's just there. Oh. Come on. Castle Knot. This pile of rocks. And another beautiful view. Wow. It does feel good to be at another landmark so quickly.
And thankfully, the next stretch across the top of the Middleton Fell looked much flatter.
Okay, 2 stops down. I'm following the ridge now, right along to the smallest mountain peak in all of Britain. Come on.
But it wasn't going to be that easy. I still had 2 checkpoints to reach before the peak, including the real Castle Knot, then another checkpoint on that dreaded climb down, along with the bonus twist that this deserted land that I was currently walking on might actually be private.
There's a quad bike coming behind me.
One thing was for sure though, I definitely wasn't alone up on that desolate fell.
You do have to play avoid the turd around here. Some of them look quite fresh. Must be sheep climbing up here. Better hikers than me, that's for sure.
I powered my way through the next half kilometre and confirmed the source of the stool.
All right, lads.
But on this barren, unforgiving land, there was also a much more sobering sheep sighting.
Oh dear. F***ing hell.
But more worryingly for my mission, where there's livestock, there's probably someone else not too far behind.
There's a quad bike coming behind me. I hope this isn't private land.
My camera isn't very subtle, so I kept it down low as 2 men and 2 farm dogs headed straight towards me. To be honest, I wasn't overly familiar with England's trespassing laws, so I didn't really know if I had the right to roam across this section of farmland. And for anyone watching from overseas, British farmers have quite the fierce reputation. So my plan was just to act friendly and clueless if they challenged me. But if this was in fact a restricted area, my mission was about to reach its end.
All right, how's it going? All right? I think we're good. I panicked for a second there that I might be on private land, but they just came past, gave me a little nod, said something Yorkshire-ish, and carried on. I thought I was in a GeoWizard video for a second. If it wasn't for the dogs on the back, I could have jumped on.
With apparent freedom, I continued up yet another steep hill.
Oh, my legs.
But I was already thinking about another patch of land a little further along my route, which was much more likely to be restricted. But as I pondered that later problem, I summited the slope to find yet another pile of rocks.
Hey, check this out. Someone had the right idea. Tell you what though, this might not be the top, but this view is awesome. You can see the sea. Wow. I can also see some rain over there. So hopefully that's not coming this way. But the wind is blowing towards me.
For now though, I tried to keep focused on the task at hand. So I left checkpoint number 3 and covered the next kilometre to finally see the real Castle Knot, which to be honest, looked very similar to the other landmarks. But it was here where I finally uncovered something pretty concerning about my supplies.
This is my own stupid fault, but I am running a little bit low on water. I don't really know what I was thinking. I must have drunk too much on those lower sections. I've got to be careful. Now, I'm no geography whiz, but I'm almost certain that that hill over there is the top, Calf Top. but it does look like quite a hill to get up there.
But before I could even start the climb,
I think the farmers might be coming back this way. Oh, here we go.
Worryingly, this time there was only a solo rider making the return journey, and no dogs.
Where's the other guy?
At this point, I was mostly concerned that the big slope at the end of my hike was actually private farmland, and the farmer could stop me from using that as an exit. That would have to be a later problem though, because I had yet another steep incline directly in front of me, as well as another worrying forecast.
It is suddenly feeling a bit colder. The wind has got a bit of a chill, and I don't like the look of that behind me. Oh, Jesus. It's all boggy. Oh God, oh Jesus. And now my socks are soaked. Okay, I'm now 99% sure that that is Calf Top right there. So this could be the last ascent. Let's do this, come on.
Filled with sudden hope, I made confident strides towards my big goal of the day.
One last climb, I hope. One last climb. Oh God, this is steep now. But almost there. Please let this be the top. Oh God, it's not. Oh, there's more. Oh God. I really thought that was going to be it. Oh.
I won't lie, that false dawn was pretty demoralising at this point, but I had no choice but to continue up the next steep and unforgiving slope.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it's levelling out now. Okay, yes, it's looking good. There's the wall.
I recognised this stone wall from my research, and it did mean that I was now very close to the summit, for real this time, but it was still not quite as close as I hoped.
I think there's more to go. Yeah, there you go. I think it's that way. Just for my own sanity, this wall had better lead to the top now. Britain's smallest mountain. Doesn't bloody feel like it. According to my phone, I've only walked about 6.5k. I'm only halfway. All I'm thinking about is the top though. The way down, we can think about that after. Just need to get to that summit any second now. Oh my God, yes. I can see the marker. That white stone. I've done it. Yes. Yes! Oh, come on! I've made it to the top of Britain's smallest mountain. "2,000 feet, I've officially climbed a mountain." And nobody can take that away from me. Just gonna sit here for a few minutes and take it all in, because we've still got the way down to do, and that's not gonna be easy.
And that was the biggest understatement of the day. What lay ahead of me was the most dangerous section so far, in the shape of an unrelenting natural slide that made it almost impossible to stay on my feet.
Well, I made it to the top, but now we need to start thinking about the way down. I had something to eat up there, which is good, so I've got a bit more energy. But like I said before, I am running out of water, which could be a bit of a problem, because I am very thirsty, and we've got quite a walk to go, let alone what this slope has in store for me. The wind is really picking up now. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's pushing this dark grey cloud closer and closer. I'm now starting to descend into the Barbendale, the valley, and this hill is already pretty steep, but I think it's only going to get worse than this.
At this early point, it was already taking quite a bit of my energy just to stay upright, but my new heights did give me a chance to relieve a pretty big concern.
I can now see right down into the Barb and Dale. It's an amazing view down onto that road. But the good news is I can actually see some sheep being herded down the road. You might not be able to see it, but I'm pretty sure that's what that farmer came to do. So if that's true, we might have a free pass straight down. Fingers crossed. You can use these sort of indents as kind of steps, I guess.
But as hard as I tried to stay on my feet, the inevitable eventually happened.
Whoa, there we go. Just fell on my ass.
And that wouldn't be the only time.
Oh God, yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna need to be a bit of a slide through this bit. Although I don't fancy dragging my ass over some of these bushes. But needs must.
Sliding turned out to be a pretty effective tactic versus staying on my feet, but I gave it another go anyway.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Whoa, okay. That is my third or fourth slip now.
And the next one wasn't far behind.
And again. Well, the good news is, I think I've spotted the landmark, if you can call it that. So let's go and check it out. Wow, this is nice. This is the Hanging Rock, which is a nice little viewpoint over the valley. And I don't want to sound like a stuck record here, but this is an incredible view. Honestly, I'm drone height right now, looking right down onto the road and looking at that steep drop below me. I'm not looking forward to the rest of this descent.
But descend I must, by any method I knew how.
I'm almost definitely sliding through sheep as I go down here. But what are you gonna do? I do not recommend this way down. View's good, sliding bad. Got this sort of rocky section there. I'm assuming it's gonna be quite slidey. Don't want to lose my footing. These trees are actually better. These shrubs are actually cushioning my steps down, which is nice. Whoa! And there you go. F***ing hell.
It's hard to put into words just how long and demoralizing this section was. It was almost like a dementor. With every new slip, it took another piece of my soul.
I've stopped counting now. Doesn't help that my legs are like jelly at this point. Hey, you signed up for this, mate.
For most of this way down, it felt like the end just wasn't getting any closer. But finally, thankfully, the ground started to level out and I could see the full extent of what I'd just endured.
Can you just look at the state of that? That is what I just climbed down. Wow. I was probably very stupid, but it's done.
I treated myself to a celebratory splash in the stream, but I had a different sort of liquid on my mind.
Well, in happier news, it's just a straight 2k walk now back to Barben village, where hopefully there's a nice cold pint, or maybe a bitter, an ale, waiting for me on the bar. It's not actually going to be waiting, I'll order it, but then I'll have it and I'll shut up.
Sadly, whilst it may have been a straight road back, it was much longer than I first thought.
This is the longest road in the world.
But eventually, after crossing a stream, passing through 4 different types of gate with a variety of confusing locks, and walking down a racetrack, I finally saw the church spire on the horizon, which leaves only one thing left for me to say.
Well, cheers to the smallest mountain in Britain. And don't worry, I got water as well.